Coach, I'll just turn it over to you for your opening statement.
All right, just first of all, wrapping up the win over Morgan. Obviously, every time you get a win, you're happy with the result. There were some things in the Morgan game, though, we didn't do well, and it was good to get back to work to practice this week and try to correct those things. We certainly got to, clean up on the penalties, and turnovers on offense were disappointing, and then just defensively, allowing the big breakout play and allowing the quarterback to break contain as often as we did. We spent a lot of time this week just working on pass rush lanes and keeping what we call the cage on the quarterback, that we always have a balanced pass rush of at least two guys to each side. But this week has some unique challenges with it. For the Idaho game, we had really 3 months to prepare. That we started preparing for Idaho back in spring football. And then after the Idaho game, we had almost 9 or 10 days to prepare for Morgan. And now that we're into the routine of the season, it's 6 days to prepare for a game. And, so things have happened a lot quicker, especially with as young as we are. I think it's been a little bit tougher for our guys to digest a game plan on much shorter notice. So, and then Wyoming in their own right is a very good football team. They're off to a good start. Offensively, they're very explosive. They have almost 1,100 yards of offense in 2 games. They have a true freshman quarterback who's playing very well. But part of the reason he plays well is he's got a lot of strong pieces around him. They have 3 very good tailbacks. They have a number of good receivers, guys that are fast, guys that are big. And schematically, they really like to get the ball in space. They have a lot of really good pass concepts. They've got some good run concepts. That they do a lot of different things. And it's going to be very important that we play assignment-correct football this week because this is a crew that, one breakdown, it could be an 80-yard ball over your head. And again, they're extremely well coached on offense. And defensively, they struggled the first week against Weber. They gave up, I think, like 541 yards, and they came back against Texas State and held them under 200. So they made significant improvement on the defensive side of the ball from week 1 to week 2. So, our players know the level of competition is stepping up, and this is a very big football game for us.
How much does that Wyoming offense resemble old BG offenses, considering Greg Brady's presence?
You know what, I'd say, from what I understand, it was more like the offense that he first ran when he was here. I think he delegated a little bit more towards the end of his tenure, but it looks a lot like what Missouri ran 2 years ago. When we played Missouri at Missouri, obviously Coach Christensen, and I think Coach Christensen and Coach Brandon had a friendship and a coaching relationship beforehand that I think my understanding is that the Missouri staff and the Bowling Green staff used to visit a lot. And, I'm not in their staff room, but I'm sure it's a combination of the two of them.
Now, what is your relationship with Greg Brandon?
I met Coach Brandon once, and he was very professional. He was at a coaching clinic or a coach's convention, and I met him, and I had questions about Bowling Green, and he was very helpful, very professional. Really could not have been any nicer. And hey, these were things that were really, really good, and these were things that, geez, if you can work to make them better, I think it would help you. So, I was very appreciative of how he handled our meeting, and he couldn't have been any nicer personally, and he couldn't have been any better professionally.
How many players on the team now remain from when he was here, specifically on defense, going up against them this weekend?
Well, there's a total of only 8 players on our football team right now that were signed to scholarships with Coach Brandon that played for him. There were certain guys that were walk-ons that we have since elevated, but I don't think there's more than maybe 10 or 12 guys out of 110 on the whole team that played for Coach Brandon. So that, for those guys, obviously there's a history, but in terms of our whole locker room and our whole team, that is certainly not the story that you guys may try to make it. it's a sideline, but for our guys, most of them have never met Coach Brandon and, don't know him or didn't face his offense in practice. So, I don't, to me, it hasn't affected our preparation. We're preparing for what they do on offense. And he is an excellent offensive strategist. He's a very good quarterbacks coach. And, he's had a very positive impact on their offense in just 2 games.
You touched on the offense there. What's the biggest challenge as a defense to try to stop that?
Well, they're very creative. They have so many ways of getting the ball in space. That a lot of teams are going to try to come right downhill at you and pound you. And so much of what they do is to get the ball lateral and then create vertical seams. In the run game, in their screen game, they make you defend the whole field. And their run game, between their zone read game, their option game, they run some 2-back stuff that they'll try to power the football on you a little bit. But his play action game is really good. The screen game is very diverse. And they do a great job of getting the ball in space and creating space in their pass game. So it is a team that you have to be, you have to be on your toes. You have to be assignment correct. Your eyes can't be in the wrong place. And if you put your eyes in the wrong place for 2 seconds, again, it can be a 70-yard play. So, and their quarterback, for being a true freshman, I think understands their system very well. When you watch the play unfold and you look at the design of the play and you say the ball should go there, it's going there. And that's very hard to do with a true freshman quarterback. So they've obviously prepared him very well in a short amount of time. And the kid's very impressive. I mean, has a nice arm, very athletic, make plays with his feet. There's certain times with a quarterback they have an it factor or an X factor that you can't really describe it, but a kid just has it. And Brett Smith appears to have it. I mean, his first football game, he had a 4th and 11 with a minute left and threw a game-winning touchdown with 27 seconds left. And it was a perfect throw. And he led them on that drive. And then, week 2, he even looked more comfortable. He made a lot of plays with his feet. So I think he's a very good spread quarterback, that he can throw the ball and he can run it. That was great. That answer was so thorough. They got every soundbite they needed.
How about the injury update for your team, Coach? I see Scott Lewis is back on the depth chart, and Spencer also, or is he going to not be able to go? Or I'll just let you answer the question rather than prompt me.
I don't like answering injury questions.
Okay.
No, but I will for you, Jack. Okay. Scott Lewis practiced this week, and he's, I don't know how much he'll play, but if we needed him, he could go. I think in a perfect world, we try to keep him out this week and let him get, maybe closer to 100%, but he feels good, and he says he can go. Adrian Spencer has practiced. Again, I don't know if he's 100% yet. So he is available. Again, I don't know if he'll play or not, but he's available to play. And Kyle Bryant played last week, so he's a week healthier and looks better. Really the only injury we have, that is not going to allow him to play this week, other than, Zach Ackenberger is Jerry Phillips. Right now, I'd say Jerry's doubtful.
And what did he do?
He had an injury to his leg that doesn't allow him to kick. So if I had our head trainer, Doug Boersma, up here, he could give you the muscle or whatever the exact thing is. I just know he's a kicker and he can't kick. So.
Dave, a little bit about the offensive line. When you have Bryant's played last week, and obviously you would assume he's going to be a week healthier this week, we see the change in the depth chart where Wojcik is going to stay out of tackle. Will you talk a little bit about the reasoning that goes into that?
Well, when we went through summer camp, Kyle Bryant was clearly one of our top 5 linemen. And he might not have been 5th. He might have been playing 3rd or 4th. He's not 100%. And I think when he is 100%, he'll be back in the starting lineup. And he played last week really for the first time ever. I mean, Kyle redshirted his first year. Last year was very limited and got his first game action. So, right now he's in the top 6. At some point he'll go to tackle and Ben will kick in the center, and we can put Chip out to guard. I mean, right now we have 6 top linemen. And, Ben, Kyle, Chip, Dominic Wharton, Dominic Flone, and Jordan Rusas are clearly our top 6 guys. But it's not a real smooth rotation. It involves 2 moves. But fortunately, the 2 moves we have to make, which is Ben going to center, Chip going to guard, so that everybody else is playing their same position, we're moving the 2 smartest guys. I mean, Ben and Chip are very smart, very experienced. They've been here 4 and 5 years. And you would think that it involves a lot more moving parts than it really does. Those 2 make that. Chip goes from guard to center pretty seamlessly, and Ben does the same thing. So, we'll start with Ben at tackle. At some point, we'll put Kyle in at tackle and move those other 2 guys around. How much, I'm not sure. It might depend on the flow of the game.
Coach, obviously playing at home is an advantage. Is there any extra advantage playing a Western team that, it's a 10 a.m. start technically for them? Do you think that provides an extra advantage for you guys?
I'm sure they're making adjustments with their schedule to do it, just like when we went to Idaho. Really, we were playing till midnight. And what happens is you practice more at night. I'm sure they're practicing more in the morning. Your travel, you get it, so they get enough sleep. So I don't think that's a big advantage. I've been on record. I would love to play games at 10 in the morning East Coast time. I love the earlier games. I love the noon games. I know that doesn't sell as many tickets, and we want to get our students out there, so I think at times we play night games because we get more of a student draw. And certainly last week, that crowd was awesome. And we had, that's as many students as I've seen here for a game. I mean, certainly the Boise game and the Marshall game were great crowds, but that was a great crowd we had. But there's a lot of other activities going on this weekend on campus, and I believe there was another activity going on at night, and we didn't want to conflict with that. And we didn't want to compete with another event on campus, so that's one of the reasons we moved the game up. So is it an advantage? I don't think it's a huge advantage. I didn't feel when Idaho kicked off at 6 o'clock at night that was a big disadvantage.
Why do you like those morning or early afternoon starts better day?
Well, number one, we practice in the morning. Right now, our players' academic schedule is that we block out from basically 8 to 11 in the morning. And so that's when we're out in the field. I also like it after a game is over that there's a little bit more recovery time than when you play at night. And just there's nothing more anxious or worse for a coach than to wake up the morning of a game and have to wait for 12 hours to kick off. I mean, as a coach, and I think as a player, you like to wake up, have your pregame meal, and kick it off as soon as you can. But obviously what we do is in the entertainment, part of what we do is entertainment. And, for TV, obviously there's a lot of night games that have to be scheduled. And even early in the year, we like to play night games. With our season ticket holders, there's probably, when we had the event, I probably had 5 people say, geez, why is the kickoff at noon? And the other 5 would say, why is the first one at 7? Some people like to go to earlier games, some people late. So, that's probably flip a coin. But, I just like getting up, having the pregame meal, and kicking it off as soon as we can.
Will you talk a little bit about Boo Boo Gates getting the starting job this year? I mean, just talk about what he brings to the team, how he's played so far.
I mean, Boo Boo's a very good player. He showed flashes of it last year, certainly on special teams at time during games. But one of the reasons I like to redshirt players if we can is that sometimes freshmen don't have the maturity level as older guys. And last year Boo Boo was a little bit up and down with his preparation. There were certain weeks he was locked in. In those weeks you knew he was going to play well, and in other weeks he didn't prepare as well as he should have. In those weeks we did not feel as confident playing him as much. And as much as he's physically better, I think Boo Boo's big story is he's just a lot more mature. He practices more consistently. He prepares himself better. Boo Boo loves football, and he loves to play, and he's, even though he's only a sophomore, he's one of the emotional leaders of our team. I mean, nothing starts a game off better than when Boo Boo goes down there 100 miles an hour and lights up a kickoff returner. So he's just got a knack of making plays, and he's very tough and he's physical, and he's grown up a lot. And that was the classic battle of, probably a younger, maybe a little bit more talented player against an older, more experienced guy. But we're still playing Keith Morgan a lot. And Keith is in all of our specialty packages, and Keith has probably been more productive this year with less snaps than he was last year playing the full game. I mean, Keith, the last 2 weeks, has been a very, very productive football player for us. He's made plays, he's made tackles, he's defended well in the pass game, and certainly the plan every week is to get both of those guys out in the field as much as we can.
With Boo, is there a way that by watching them, obviously you see the big hits, especially on special teams, is there a way to see that this better prep shows up in a game?
Yeah, I just think it's maybe things that you wouldn't notice, or the typical fan wouldn't notice, but in our coverage packages, that his eyes are in the right place and he's going through the right route progression. If he's responsible for number 3, he has number 3 and his eyes aren't in the backfield. Or, if we're in zone coverage, that, he sees 2 out or 3 go in and he works to the route the way he should based on his coaching and his preparation. And I think last year he just went out there and kind of ran around on his own, and his eyes were in the right place. And sometimes he'd make a great play just because of his ability, but a lot of times he would hurt the defense because he wasn't where he should be. And this year, we're still getting his good plays, but on those plays you don't notice, it might be because he's in the right place at the right time, and his eyes are where they need to be, and he's playing the correct assignment. So he's grown up a lot, and again, like all sophomores, it's still a work in progress, but he has made a tremendous jump from year 1 to year 2. And he is, him and Stevie Dunlap and Gabe Martin are our 3 best special teams players. I mean, those guys are just tremendous with their effort and their attention to detail and their playmaking ability.
Is there anything else?
I do have one. With the picking of the game captains, what goes into that?
Well, we do it based on the week before, and then we try to put guys up in front that we think that with their preparation, their practice habits, and their game performance, that we're saying that these guys deserve to be recognized as leaders. And it's not always the best player. A great example is Ray Hudson. Ray Hudson's a senior for us, and Ray 2 years ago started when we had a bunch of injuries in 2009. We had Tyrone Proney got hurt, and Calvin Wiley got hurt, and Derek Brighton got hurt, and Ray that year became a starter. And then last year did not have as big of a role, and this year, because of the emergence of Kamar Jordan and because of the emergence of Eugene Cooper, I've just loved that Ray has kept a great attitude. He's helped us on special teams. He's been very positive with the younger players. And maybe even though last week he didn't catch 6 balls for 2 touchdowns and 105 yards, Ray is practicing hard, he's preparing hard, he's helping our younger players. That's an example of what we want a Bowling Green football player to be. I mean, Keith Morgan was one of the captains last week. If somebody has a right to hang their head because they're not starting, maybe it's Keith. He starts safety as a senior, we move him to linebacker, now he gets beaten out by a sophomore. But he's still playing a lot of football. His attitude is great. His preparation is great. It's not about him, it's about the team. And so at times you put a Dwayne Woods out there because he's productive and he's a really good player. But we also want to put guys out there as game captains that are doing things right, within our program. We want to say it's not all about who caught the most balls or had the most carries or the most tackles, but all these other guys that allow a team to be a team. And, because guys like Keith and Ray aren't selfish and are putting the team first and they're keeping their attitude positive, they're helping us at times as much as the guys that are making 8 to 10 tackles. So we put guys out there that we think are positive people, that are team first people, that are unselfish, that, again, we want to say this is what we want a Bowling Green football player to be like.
Coach, obviously 2-0 is a solid start. Just kind of what would another win, obviously it would be a good thing, but what would it do for this team, especially coming off a 2-win season to be 3-0? Just what would that mean?
I mean, I think anytime you win a game, it helps build confidence. It helps affirm the things that you're doing in your program. you know, it's a big game. We want to be 3-0. That's the goal of the program. But, you know, I am just as concerned with the level of football that we're playing. I mean, it feels very good right now to be 2-0. It feels a lot better than last year when we were 0-2. But, you know, at the same token, that I believe we're a better football team right now based on what I see at practice. You know, I see more competition. I see a faster practice. I see more attention to detail. I see more depth. You know, sometimes your record is a function of schedule too. You know, and I think if last year's team had played Morgan State, maybe we would have had at least another win or maybe 2 more wins. You know, so it's not just all about the record. You know, coaches, this is coach speak, and I'm a coach, so I can speak like a coach. It is about the process of getting better. So, you know, is this game going to make or break our season? No. But, man, we want to win it. This would be a great win for us. I think any time in the MAC that you go out and play a WAC team or a Mountain West team or a Big East team and you can find a way to win, it certainly represents your program in the conference well. And we have goals this year, and one of our goals is we want to get back to a bowl game. That's very important to this football team, that we get back to a bowl. And in terms of getting back to a bowl game, all of these games count. They're all wins. So this is a big game for us.
Anything else for Coach? Coach, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.